Hey guys, welcome back to Puffalauda, and welcome back to Steam Prison, where we are learning more and more about Ulrik and his family and everything that happened prior to Creamoo showing up at Eldcreed's house. So, let's just get into it. Did I say this already? I think I did. My job had been theft and intelligence work. Also, yeah, we're in Ulrik's, like, I don't know, perspective, I guess, so I'm not voicing Creamoo. I never had to kill anybody, but it was still dirty business. Still, I had to do it to survive. I ignored my conscience and did what I had to. Then, when I'd been 12, I met Vice.
僕が指導役とか勘弁してほしいんだけど。
New people tried to join Varatir all the time. Normally, others were in charge of training them, but for once I had been chosen.
人に何かを教えるなんてことめったにしないし。第一、めんどくさい。指導役をするくらいなら100件窃盗する方がまだマシかも。
I was still fuming when I heard footsteps behind me.
この音はブーツだ。音の重みからして男。歩き方は若いやつ。あと品はなさそうだ。
I turned around and saw a man standing in front of me. He was really tall. His eyes were striking, being of different colors, and he stared down on me.
あんたがバイス？僕は。
ウルリク、フェリエだろ。
え？うん、そうだけど。
His loud voice startled me, and I nodded meekly.
俺はバイスガビーゼルだ。よろしくな、ウルリク。
あ、うん、よろしく。
I held out my hand, and we shook nervously. He was grinning at me, but his grip was very firm.
なんだこいつ。慣れ慣れしいというか、なんというか。
すっげえ、フェリエと知り合いになっちまったぜ。
知り合いね。僕って僕の知らないところで有名になってるわけ？情報員としてそれなりに隠れて活動してるつもりなんだけど。
他のやつは知らないが、俺にとっては有名人だ。フェリエ家っつったら英雄じゃねえか。
英雄？
そう、この町に溢れている機械のほとんどはフェリエ家の知識と技術がなければ完成しなかった。これだってそうだ。
Vice unholstered his gun and showed it to me proudly.
特許を取ったのはバーレンティンだが、実際に作ったのはあの奴らじゃない。お前の祖先だろ。
それはそうだけど、無関係のやつは知らないはずなのに、どうしてそれを知ってるんだ？
俺の家は代々武器商人やっててさ、ある日バーレンティンが新しい武器ができたと言ってこれを売り込みに来たんだ。
Vice handed the pistol to me, then pointed at part of it with engraved letters.
フェリエ。
開発者フェリエの名が刻まれた試作品だ。ガビーゼルはこれを捨てず改良し、この話と共に代々受け継いできた。だから知っているのさ、真実ってやつをな。銃の発明は偉大だ。あんたの祖先がいなけりゃ俺の家はもちろんこの社会は発展しなかった。この町はフェリエあってこそだ。
Because of the fairies, there was hardly anybody who had ever even heard of my family. Getting a rundown of my family history from a stranger bewildered me.
ダメだ。こいつも信用してはいけない。
The people working for Varatir were largely crooks. They showed no qualms about hurting others.
僕は人を信じない。だいたいうさんくさすぎる。
Vice went on, unfazed by my glare.
だからさ、俺思うんだ。俺がこの町で一番偉くなったらフェリエの功績を称える像を建てようって。モデルはお前で決まりだな。
That's such a weird thing to say to somebody you've met literally like 5 minutes ago.
え？
税金、いや著作なんとか料か。まあよくわかんないけど金を取るのもいいよな。フェリエの技術勝手に使ってんじゃねえぞオラって。
なんだこいつ。
I was so confused by him that my head hurt.
だいたい像ってなんだよ。
知らねえの？ 鉄だか銅でできたでっかい。
いや、知ってる。けど、称えられる意味がわからないってこと。
なんでだよ。すげえことやったんだぜ。正当に評価されるべきだろ
う。別に、どうでもいい。フェリエは目立たずに生きてきたんだ。今さらそんなことされても嬉しくない。そもそも、一番偉くなるってなんだよ。新人のくせに夢見すぎだろ。
新人？俺、新人じゃねえけど。
え？嘘だ。僕は新人教育を任されたんだ。
いや、俺新人じゃねえよ。フェアレーターに入ってもう2年になるし、17歳だぜ。ちゃんと現実見てるし。
全然見てないように思えるんだけど。
17. Wasn't he embarrassed that he was getting trained by a 12-year-old?
一番偉くなるって具体的にはどうするんだ？組織の乗っ取り？
それはまだ考えてない。ま、そのうちなんとかなるだろう。
そのうちってなんだよ。やる気があるのかないのか。
Vice Gavizel, a man of much talk and fleeting wit who dreamed of things he would never accomplish. He was going to be a handful. I was sure that was why the organization had put me in charge of him. Putting him below me would hurt his pride, and that would make him quit.
バイスを追い払うのは簡単だけど、押し付けられたことはムカつくな。まあいいか。そっちがその気なら、僕にだって策がある。いいよ。あんたの夢、ちょっとは付き合ってあげる。
マジか。
うん。ちょっと、だけどね。フェアレーターでそこそこ生きていけるようにはしてあげる。言っておくけど、僕の指導は厳しいし、基本放任主義だから。自分の力で学んでよね。
了解。
Years went by. When I was 17, Veritar was abolished. I didn't hear from Vice for a while, but a few months before the rest of the story, we ran into each other. The city's boss. I'd always been sure that Vice's ridiculous pipe dream would remain just that.
組織を立ち上げてボスになってるんだ。驚きだよな。僕がフェリエの末裔だと知っているバイスは、彼が率いるラファールに僕を誘った。
Oh, it's Rafal.
僕の気持ちはさておき、彼らの大好きな銃を発明したフェリエに感謝しているらしく、こうやって僕を囲んでくれている。賑やかなことは苦手だし、迷惑だけど。
It wasn't like we had been especially close. It was 6 years since we met. And I wasn't involved in their specialty, but it was nice to be revered a little. So sometimes I joined them. Vice didn't know any of that. He was blithely blithering on about something, as usual.
たくよ。あの音、マジで鬱陶しいよな。上階なんかなくなっちまえばいいのによ。
Rafal's specialty was attacks on the heights, according to them.
今日もきっと愚痴大会で終わる。何かするわけでもなく、ただ喋って。たまに上階のやつで鬱憤を晴らすだけ。ほんと、つまんない集団だ。
So he's just in a group with a bunch of racists. Great. When I looked around, all I saw were young, strong men.
はっきり言って、どいつもこいつも頭が悪い。破壊行為の計画すらできなそうだ。
So mean.
ただで飲食できるからいいけどさ。
Vice and his Rafal gang were enamored with me. The extent of it was a bit creepy, but not at all in a bad way. I didn't know where they had learned about us. The fairies lived in the shadows.
そう。大抵のやつは知らないんだよな。
After the flood, Elt's ancestors, the Valentines, had rebuilt the depths together with the fairies, but only the economic efforts of the Valentines were remembered. The fairies hid in their shadows, eventually buried by the passage of history.
エルトのことは嫌いじゃないけど、やっぱどこか引っかかるんだよな。
Even my job gathering intel for him was shrouded in shadow. I wasn't much one for machines and preferred reading. I was happy with the path I'd chosen. On the other hand, I hadn't really had a choice.
お前のダチのことだけどよ。
I was brought back to the moment. Oh, back to the
ダ
picture.
チ
そう。銀行の坊ちゃんだ。あいつが最近連れてる女で、ウルリクとも会ってるとこも見たな。誰だ？愛人か？
愛人？あいつはそんなんじゃない。あれはエルとの愛人じゃなくて護衛だ。
護衛？女に守ってもらってんのか？めめしいやつだな。
It doesn't help that he's already racist, but he's gotta be sexist too. Like, god damn it.
油断しない方がいいよ。上界の貴族で剣の腕がすごいって話だから。
Ooh.
上界の貴族。あの女がか。
Ulrik, why?
ああ、そうだけど。
気に食わないな。なんでそんな奴を護衛にしてんだ？エルト・クリードはリベラリタスの支配者だろうが。そんなお偉いさんが上界の女に守られてるなんてダセえし、他の地区の奴がどう思うか。
さあね、知らない。エルトの趣味だろ。嫌な空気になってきたな。
Yikes. I had blurted out that information, thinking they wouldn't think anything of it, but now unease rippled through me. Vice and all the others in the room had eyes like knives now, like they were eager to draw blood.
貴族か。捕まえて痛めつけりゃいい情報を話してくれるかもな。それをもとに上界を攻撃すれば。
God
見
damn
えて
it.
きたぜ。
God damn it.
何が見えたんだよ。バカはバカらしくくだらないことで騒いでればいいのに。危害を加えるのはやめた方がいい。言っただろ、彼女は護衛だって。下手をすればエルトにやられるぞ。
なに、あの女だけうまく手に入れりゃいいんだ。簡単だ。早速計画を練らないとな。
God damn it, Ulrik. After everything I've done for you.
めんどくさいことになってきたな。
I wondered what elk what Elt would think if he got wind of who had planted this idea in their heads. He was probably gonna punch me, I figured, if I was lucky.
でもラファールなんかに手こずってるのなら護衛としては失格だ。お手並み拝見ってことでいいか。
Ulrik! Oh my god, this is gonna be so bad. Hoping that Vice and the others weren't going to come up with anything resembling a plan, I snuck out. God damn it, Ulrik. Fuck. Oh, now we have to deal with so much more annoyance. Is it morning already? I had the day off, though. I resolved to rise early anyway, knowing that sleep again would just make getting up the next day more difficult. I opened the closet and took out my clothes. I got used to these clothes a lot more quickly than I expected. Except for how short the skirt is. I wonder if there's a way to make it longer without Eltcreed noticing. I couldn't sew, so I was stumped. I had always left sewing to my servants in the Heights. Perhaps I should have learned at least some of these household skills. Alright, all done. I looked at myself in the mirror and adjusted the collar. Then I left my room to eat breakfast. Good morning. Huh? When I left my room, Eltcreed was nowhere to be seen. Did he leave already? I couldn't see Ulrik or any of the servants either. I guess this is breakfast. A letter was wedged between the different plates of bread. I opened it. Please eat to your heart's content and enjoy your day, Eltcreed. That's like him. I put the letter back and chose bread from the plates. I picked Danish, chocolate bread, and bread with jam with black tea for my drink. That sounds so good. I'm so hungry. I carried my breakfast over to the table. It's so rare for me to eat alone. Since I came to Libertalia's, I had almost always eaten with Eltcreed. Liberalias, I don't know. Sometimes even Ulrik ate with us. Listening to them as they talked was a quiet pleasure of mine during meals. This room is so large I feel a little forlorn. Ulrik had been alone there the day before. I wondered how he had felt, waiting for Eltcreed. Of course, I couldn't look into his heart, but he must have hurt. Perhaps he's fine with being alone. I don't even know what he does all day long. I knew that he had informants and kept tabs on things, but what did that mean exactly? Eltcreed gave him a variety of odd jobs, but I suspected that most of them weren't his true forte. I don't think he'd tell me. I hope I'll find out, though. After breakfast, I decided to go into the city. There was a simple reason behind my decision. I hated being cooped up in my room. I want to do something. I could go along the main road for a while and then go back. Apparently, my time with Eltcreed had made me somewhat famous. The people I passed all stared at me. I didn't like it, but there was nothing I could do. I suppose this will suffice. I'll go back now. Oh, God. I thought I heard sobbing and turned around. Did I imagine that? I listened. Yes, a child is crying somewhere in this crowd. I navigated the ocean of people, trying to find the sobbing among the cacophony. Oh, there. Maybe he was lost. He was standing amid the crowd, completely ignored by it. I looked around. Nobody looked like his guardian or relatives, and none of them paid him any mind. If he's lost, then I can't help him. I don't know the area. Still, my training as a police officer kicked in. I couldn't ignore him. I decided to ask him what happened. Hey there. Don't be scared. I'm harmless. That doesn't sound harmless, does it? I leaned down to seem less imposing to him. Are you lost?
お父さんとお母さんとはぐれちゃって家に戻ろうと思ったけど僕の知ってる道たまに怖い人が声をかけてくるからだから一人で帰れなくて
The road is dangerous, huh? I didn't know the back alleys well at all. This made me uneasy, but I couldn't leave him alone. God damn it, Creamoo, you were too nice. If he knows the way, then all I have to do is protect him. Okay, I'll escort you there.
本当にいいの
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll get you home. Yikes. I'm afraid. Are we going through here?
お姉ちゃん怖い
Of course not. This is nothing. It's day. As long as I don't let my guard down, I'll be fine. I walked with the boy through the back alleys. This is where the man from the heights was beaten up, I think. I looked at the spot. His corpse and every trace of it was gone. There was nothing left to tell of it, but I knew someone had lost his life there. And all that simply because he was born in the heights. They might attack me too. I have to be careful. I held the boy's hand with my left as he led me ahead. My right was on the sword grip. He led me towards the tunnels, ever further. This...
僕の家への道だよ
Through here? The architecture was the same as in the tunnel that connected to the sanctuary district in the depths. Water flowed by next to me, and the walls were made of earth and stone. No light entered from the outside. The boy looks ordinary, not like a beggar. Why would he go here and not use the surface roads? And why does he seem so calm now? Surely my presence isn't that soothing. Suddenly, the boy shook off my hand and ran ahead. Hey, where are you going? He didn't answer. I looked ahead and saw him running towards a bright light and a long shadow on the ground. Is a person there? I assumed it was a relative of his.
坊主、ありがとね。ほら、報酬だ。うまいもんでも食え。
Yikes. He gave him a reward? For what? I slowly walked towards the light, hand on my sword grip. No! Girl, turn back! Oh my god. Who's there?
俺か俺たちはあんたに用があるものさ。
We? I suddenly heard a lot of footsteps. They were behind me and in front of me. I was surrounded. You literally... Oh my god, you said you were going to be careful and this is what happens. Should I assume the worst?
あんたが抵抗せずに捕まってくれるなら何もしないけどな。
What a pitiful lie. Like I would surrender to you. There are fewer in front of me, but I'll have to go back if I want to escape. I drew my sword and spun around. There are 4 people behind me. No, more back there. The man in front of me thankfully wasn't carrying a gun, but only a pipe. That's no match for me. Oh my god, did I slash him open? That was one of them down. The other men screamed in fear as I cut the first one down and shrunk away. Those 2 are next. I jumped over one of the men on the ground, putting my weight into a slash against the next prey. Another man swung an iron pipe at me. Ha! I shifted my weight backwards, dodging his swing, and kicked him into the water. Alright, almost through.
そこまでだお嬢ちゃん。
Well, before I could turn around, I was slammed against the wall and held there.
暴れすぎだ。罰を受けてもらうぜ。
A man hit a brick on the wall and suddenly I fell backwards into nothingness. I had been cast into a dark chasm. Ah! I landed with my back on something surprisingly soft. But what's this? It was very dark. I could hardly see anything. There was only a faint light above.
後で迎えに来てやる。そこで反省することだな。
Wait! He closed the door and I was in perfect darkness. This place is so dark, I can't see anything. But I smelled air like this before. It was a little like rotten garbage, rotten eggs or rotten meat. It wasn't a smell that was easy to forget. It clung to the skin and to the mind. This is the smell of corpses. Then what did I land on? The soft mass underneath me. Oh god. Oh god. Ulrik! Save me! Oh shit. I was sleeping inside Raphael's base when the footsteps woke me up. They were approaching fast. It was probably Vice and the others.
こっちは保護地区帰りで疲れてるっていうのに勘弁してくれよもう。
I turned around on my improvised bed of blankets and sheets.
おう、ウルリク。こんな時間にいるなんて珍しいじゃねえか。
今は会いたくなかった。いちいち声がでかいんだよ、バイスは。
I got up and steadied myself.
仕事明けで仮眠してたんだ。これから騒ぐなら出ていくよ。どうしたんだその姿。みんな汚れてるし、怪我してるやつもいる。
昨日話してくれた女に会ったら一瞬でこうなった。たく、何なんだあいつ。化け物かよ。
女。ああ、あいつのことか。化け物っていうか騎士様なんだけど。いや、それはどうでもいい。バイスたちにやられなくてよかった。まあ、護衛やってんだ。簡単には負けないか。手を出すとか、ほんとバカだね。剣の腕の話してやったのに、二度と近づかないことだ。
こんだけ被害受けて何もしないわけないだろ。
どういう意味？
毒壺に沈めてやったんだよ。今頃ピーピー泣いてんじゃねえの？
What the fuck is the poison jar?
毒壺。
The poison jar. It was a hidden room filled with corpses in the tunnels. It had been built some decades earlier during a time of strife. I didn't know who had built it. It was dark and deep and impossible to open from the inside. Sometimes people were kidnapped and tossed into it to starve to death as well. Either way, using it was pretty shitty.
バイスの様子を見る限り殺してはいないみたいだな。
I yawned and stood up.
ああ、ひどい怪我。見てられない。手当てしてやる。
I removed the first aid bandages and looked at the glistening cut.
この容赦のなさ。あいつ本気を出して戦ったみたいだな。
Well, that was natural when you were being attacked.
僕の失言のせいでこうなってしまった。エルトに知られたらどうなるか。なんとかしないとな。
Let me out! Get me out! Oh my god! Get me out! I'm gonna cry. This is gonna be awful. My back stung with pain, but that was minor compared to everything else. I had been shoved into this black world, bereft of light, and I could tell that I was surrounded by walls, but not the size of the room. I had to breathe through my mouth to avoid all the stench. The only sound in the darkness was my own breathing. I had considered the situation. Why did they attack me? The boy had led me to them. But what's their motivation? Was it because I was from the Heights? He said they'd be back for me. Why didn't they try to kill me? I didn't know. What I did know, though, was that I wouldn't get out anytime soon. Letting down my guard simply because he was a child was foolish of me. What's the point in having a sword if I'm so naive? Ugh. I breathed in through my nose without thinking, and the stench assaulted me. My eyes teared up. It was getting harder to breathe. This smell reminds me of that time. It had been a very cloudy day. We get so many flashbacks. Oh shit, whoops! I went way too far. We're gonna stop here, I suppose. I guess we'll watch Creamoo's flashback on the next episode, and Ulrik better fucking save Creamoo's ass, because I swear to God. Ugh.